good evening. This is Kaja Bryx for Rajonalista TV, and I have a pleasure to interview Diego Fontanive, this time in person. I hope you watched the previous interview we did over Skype. So Diego Fontanive is a skeptic and an atheist, and is a person interested in memetics and doing research on memetics. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is a person who is actually suggesting a new way of looking at skepticism, a new way of thinking, a new way of looking at the way we think, so a metamemetic thinking. Could you tell us maybe very briefly, just for those who don't remember, what's a meme? And then we will move to a metamemetic thinking. I know that you could also define meme for 3 hours, but I hope it can be done fast as well.
Yes. Can I say something else? Because I don't quite consider myself an atheist. I think that atheism is a very good starting point, but I don't quite to put myself in a specific category. Atheism could be a meme as well. So what is a meme? A meme is an information that is copied from person to person or from culture to people. Pretty much everything is a meme. The studio is a meme. The background is a meme. The logo is a meme. So memes can be productive, can be can facilitate our lives. So for example, I know that a door is not a sofa, and therefore that facilitates my life. But there are dangerous memes. As I say that during my lecture, freedom of religion, for example, is conventionally accepted as some good as a good value. It is actually a dangerous meme, because it implies freedom of indoctrination. Without indoctrination, we won't have the memetic replication of religious thinking in every form. So in a very simple way, a meme doesn't care about investigating in itself. So there is no self-analysis. A meme cares mainly about replication, replicating itself with variations. And we can see this, as I said, with the idea of spirituality. Spirituality went from the meme religion and spirituality, then it became spirituality and New Age movement. And as I said during the lecture, there are prominent speakers of reasons like Sam Harris that is trying to secularize spirituality. Sam Harris is a brilliant thinker and speaker, but I really don't quite get this idea he has to promote spirituality in an atheist way. But it's still an element that has no evidence, because what we mean, can we prove spirituality? Can we test spirituality? And by the way, why do we call it spirituality? Sometimes can only be about having a high emotional experience. So it's very alluring. Mm-hmm. And so I'm quite concerned about the meme, to see how the meme of spirituality changes in time, and now is trying to adapt itself into secular spirituality, and probably in the future even technological spirituality. So what I mean by metamemetic thinking or anti-memetic thinking is the possibility to train ourselves also through critical thinking skills and metacognition to comprehend the fallaciousness of a meme as the meme arises. For example, to make it very simple, if a person protects freedom of religion, if a person is trained in terms of metamemetic thinking, the person will automatically comprehend the dangerousness in it, because that means freedom of indoctrinating our children with a certain ideologies, which is what is happening here in Poland and in many other places, more or less. But it's the consequences you know that we were discussing about these laws against abortions that are absolutely medieval and ridiculous and dangerous and against human rights. So the understanding of memes is not really complex. It sounds like complex because we don't have this in the field of education. And most of people think that memes are the internet memes, sharing a picture with some sentence. It's not really, it doesn't work quite like that. We do need educative programs in education. I'm not saying only a school, but also everything that can be used for educative purposes, such as media, social media, TV, whatever we can use, and also computer science. We need this to really train us and the future generation to develop these thinking skills, which I believe that are, especially nowadays, incredibly important because we are facing an overload of information and we are not quite capable to properly process it. And also because we are approaching what Susan Blackmore will call the third replicator point, which is when memes becomes what she calls themes, technological memes. I'm talking about the impact we will face probably quite soon with the onset of artificial intelligence, because they will probably develop the capability to think in terms of metamemetic thinking, and we will approach them without any skills about that. So I don't know what the impact will be, but probably could be something quite serious. Imagine artificial intelligence talking with Islamic people. The impact is almost impossible, so we don't really quite know what is going to happen. To make it short, I believe we really do need to develop programs, probably starting from high school and then university, pivoted in metamemetic thinking and the development of critical thinking skills.
So how do you imagine this metamemetic thinking, just the ability to be able to recognize what is a meme, that at this moment someone is trying to indoctrinate me, or that at this moment I'm actually getting excited about some kind of idea which is a meme, and that it changes my life? Can we somehow steer it? Can we get rid of it? What would be the aim here? Just not to follow blindly whatever is around us?
Yes, the aim is to be capable to comprehend the validity of the premises behind the conclusions we like. For example, as I said also during the lecture, we can run simple experiments. If you show a picture of a 5-year-old Buddhist monk, so a child that looks like a monk, shaved head, all this sort of stuff, praying, and you show that to people, you can be probably sure that most people will say, you ask people what do you think about this picture, probably they will say cuteness, innocence, spirituality, Buddhism, wisdom. As a matter of fact, all of those things, those descriptions are memes or memetics descriptions, and are completely invalid, because the truth is that the right answer is indoctrination. A 5-year-old child knows nothing about Buddhism, praying. He doesn't know why he's supposed to shave his head or what he's doing, and therefore we should expect that he will grow up. He will throughout the process of becoming an adult, he will have serious problems. And if we were trained to comprehend the dangerousness of these memes, we will probably be capable to comprehend that right away. So this is nothing about wisdom, it's nothing about spirituality, it's nothing about innocence, it's entirely about indoctrinating a person with ideas he doesn't even know or she doesn't even know what they are all about. So imagine if we were trained this way. We won't buy something just because a commercial tells us that we need that something. We won't rely to enthusiasm without evaluating what are the premises behind that, and if we really should undertake that specific path or not. So our decision-making processes will be absolutely more efficient. That's why I think we really need this.
But don't we, after all, anyway, follow in most cases the emotions when taking decisions? And do you really think people can be trained like this and be actually fully rational in this sense? Because that's what you are kind of suggesting. No. So enlighten me. What do you mean by this, please?
I think that we cannot be fully rational. That will be delusional. I think Chris French was talking about this yesterday. We cannot be fully rational. We do have irrationalities. It's the way our brain is wired, and it's actually a little bit good to be sometimes irrational, because it's a way to train our brain and our mind to become better. I'm not talking about being fully rational at all. I'm talking about educating our irrationality, if you like this way to put things. Meaning, when it comes to emotions, obviously, if we take decisions out of our emotions, what we expect from it, if not like fallacious consequences. We do have emotions. Our brain is wired to experience emotions. There's not a problem. It's natural. We should not control our emotions. I don't believe that. Again, I think we should educate our emotions, and I think that our logicality and our emotions should go hand in hand. And in this way, we prevent emotions from taking over our reason. And if we do that, it doesn't mean that we are going to live a fully rational life. We are going to live a rational life. We are going to live a life with creativity. We are going to live a life with logicality and with proper emotions. I mean, it's nice to be silly sometimes. It's not necessarily, we don't have to be robots. It's nice to do something irrational sometimes with logic when it's not dangerous, when it doesn't hurt us or other people. It's a part of us. So the problem is not to eliminate that. The problem is to evaluate our decisions before taking the action. Because if we don't, then we can see what is happening in the world. We have Trump, what is happening here in Poland, Brexit, and just to mention a few big examples. So I think we should never say that the aim is to be fully rational. It's not that. The aim is to be critical. The aim is to be capable to remain with the questions. The aim is to be less prone to jump into answers, and more prone to be capable to develop and deliver proper questions. That's the aim. As a matter of fact, we don't know how to question. We really don't. We ask why, but it's not sufficient.
It's too short.
It's too short. And then we have an answer, and usually we accept the answer, or we discharge the answer. So we don't investigate. And we do not theorize. We have problems with the act of creating theories. So that's why usually people tend to take positions. So should I prefer the right politically speaking, or the left? Should I be conservative or should I be liberal without even knowing exactly what that means? In both cases is actually wrong. Taking positions without analysis is actually wrong and can only create chaos and confusion. And then we cry always when it's too late. So this is what I'm talking about rationality. To be rational also, I remember yesterday a person asked me a question, it was quite confusing. First of all, we have to comprehend what it means to be rational. It's not, I'm not talking about the dictionary, what rationality means. Well, as James Randi will say, to be rational is to properly evaluate the questions the best we can. That's what it means. And when we do that, then the answers are pretty much within the question. And we need an education like this. As I said yesterday, critical thinking alone is not enough. And we have data, we have studies that prove us that students trained in critical thinking, then they are not capable to apply it in the factual life they live.
Mm-hmm. So you are working on this project to actually create this training, or is it already created?
Not quite, not yet. Now, the project now is working with people one-on-one or with other initiatives. This is the next step. The next step where I want to take the project. The priority now is entering education with these programs. This is very relevant.
Yes, and how are you going to do that?
Step after step after step. This is also the reason why I'm here, networking, trying to propose something serious, something accurate, something based on science, not on some philosophy or mumbo jumbo. And then we are also trying to work with the United Nations actually to see what is possible. So unfortunately, I have to say it will start in the Western world because it's probably almost impossible to introduce something like this in the non-Western world. But maybe in the future we will see.
Well, let's hope we can start and introduce it somewhere.
Yes.
And then it can spread.
Yes.
Right? Also on its own, perhaps.
Yes, that's another point. There is another branch of the project I'm interested in, which is the application of this in computer science. Because if we cannot introduce a program like that in India, in the schools, maybe we can introduce that virtually through computers, like apps, or whatever material people can find, like tutorial, or like even courses online. When they have internet, could be a school. Maybe in certain countries a little bit dangerous, but I think that is necessary to take the risk, and then it's up to them. So that's why I'm thinking about the actual scholastic reality and then the virtual scholastic reality, and then we will see.
Good luck. Yeah, well, I do think it's a very interesting project. I am a little bit of a pessimist, not towards the project itself. I'm in general a pessimist.
Oh, of course.
So, but I would really like to see people being trained in it. So, and if you can actually make it accessible at some point, also to people everywhere around the world via internet, that can really be a game changer, I guess. So.
I'm trying, and could be about a very long time, or could be exponential. What I think that we need now is to bring about clarity, to make something really clear, and something that doesn't look or sound like philosophy is not philosophy. And with the right support, we can really create something very, 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 very important. And so far unique, because I'm looking for people that are doing the same. And is a problem because you find someone that is doing something about critical thinking, but is doing only something about critical thinking. Then someone else is doing something about metacognition, but is only metacognition. Another person only about memetics, but is only about that. So we must to put these things together and to create something completely new and very qualitative and very powerful. Because otherwise, I don't really know. We were discussing earlier. I think we went through throughout the last century different types of society, like capitalism, communism, and I like to call this period now, this time, Confucianism, and I'm probably right. I'm probably right, and could be very dangerous. Could be very dangerous. Also because the information we are receiving are more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And if we also take a look to the rates of depressions, it's going up, mental disorders, geopolitical chaos, and all of these problems. Of course, I'm a pessimistic too, and I believe that is actually a very good thing to be pessimistic, because if we are optimistic, then we fall asleep and we do not react, or we just go out to get a beer, and that's all. I think we do have to be pessimistic. There is nothing wrong with that. It's actually very, very, very important, very wise. And then out of that we create. I call this discontent. If we, not discomfort, discontent, being rationally upset, just like you people are doing with this abortion thing and absurdity. You are pessimistic. You are acting out of your discontent. And you are doing something. People protesting, and probably something will happen. Can you be optimistic about it? I don't think so. And that's why it's good to be pessimistic. But to be pessimistic doesn't mean that emotions must take over, and then we become depressed. Otherwise, then the game is over. If we don't react, nothing will happen. And then we give authority to whatever sort of absurdity. I find these laws about abortions, they are quite shocking, because they are just, in a European country, it's just absurd. It's just absurd to see how the Middle Age tries to fight back. And again, there's a meme. They don't even bother to understand the scientific evidence behind what we mean by an alive human being and a fetus, and they don't even bother about that. So it's a big problem. And I also think that talking a little bit about politics, I think that we should not allow people to become politicians without testing them with critical thinking.
Wow, that would be something. But you know, that would leave most of the parliaments of the world empty.
No, and then, why not?
Yeah, why not? I totally agree.
It's very stupid to allow to vote for politicians that are not trained with critical thinking skills, because then the population will pay the consequences of that. And I think we have to approach this problem very mathematically, so really doing the math. In the United States, we have politicians that believe the planet is like 10,000 years old, and people were working with dinosaurs. So this is very irrational and very dangerous. And we quite accept that. We think that is part of our life and that they represent us. No, they should never represent us. It's very unfair, it's very dishonest, and it's a serious problem. Talking about politics.
Well, let's see if we can do something about that.
Let's see. You're doing something. We are doing something now.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.